Hello besties, welcome back to my channel. In today's video we are going to be doing the epitome of fall reading time. I need you to grab a cozy drink, a cozy blanket, I need you to light a fall candle, I need you to put on some fall ambiance in the background, and I need you to grab some fall books to read along with me in today's video because we are going to be doing a fall reading vlog. This is crazy. If you put the word fall in front of anything, I'm probably going to love it. I'm probably going to eat it up. I love to romanticize fall. I think it is such a cozy season. So that's what we're going to be doing in today's reading vlog. I'm not only going to be mood reading some books from my September TBR, but there's some books on my radar that I would like to get to in the fall season that kind of just feel very fall to me. So we're going to light some candles. We're going to put some cozy ambiance on. We're going to get real cozy and we're going to sit together and we're going to read some fall books. The first book we're going to be starting is a fantasy because when I think of fall reading, I honestly think of fantasies. I think of more emotional romance. I think of maybe a sci-fi, maybe a dark academia book. I have those vibes like in my head. Like think of when you type onto Pinterest fall reading and just scroll through that. That's like what I'm picturing for today's vlog. So the first fantasy I really want to get into, it was on my TBR last year and I didn't get to it, but it's on my September TBR this month, and that is These Hollow Vows by Lexi Ryan. I'm gonna be honest, I don't know too much about the summary of this. I have heard people comparing this to ACOTAR in some ways. It says her sister is taken by the king of the Unseelie court and she makes a deal with the king himself to steal 3 magical relics from the rival Seelie court. Honestly, I just want a good old YA fantasy right now, a little bit of a romantasy, and that's what this one I feel like is giving me. I've heard really good things about this one as well. I think it's a duology / trilogy. I'm not really too sure. I'm gonna start it later tonight, get cozy in bed, and get all the fall vibes started. So grab your book, let's get fall reading, and I will see you later when we start today's book, or our first book. Update. I'm on page 93, chapter 7. I don't think I'm loving the writing style of this one. It's feeling very like simplistic, not very complex or a lot of world building, which is totally fine. Sometimes I don't want to read a fantasy that's making me use a lot of brain power, and this one's definitely not doing that. So if you need something like that, I would recommend this one, but I feel like it's going to be very predictable. In my head, I have kind of a prediction of where this book is going to go because she puts in different quotes or certain quotes and certain scenes with characters, and they like say something and I'm like, no, that's gonna come back up, and I feel like I predicted when it's gonna come back up and why. And then our main character is supposedly supposed to be like this thief. She's a human thief and she's trying to pay back this debt that she owes for her and her sisters for their freedom, but she's not a very good thief. Like, no offense to our main character, I'm enjoying reading along with her and like reading what she's doing, but when she does some things I'm like, are you thinking before you do are you really a thief? Are you really a good thief? She's kind of like making just very dumb decisions and I'm just so confused. I'm just interested to see where the romance in this pops up. I feel like we've met a few characters that I'm like, I don't think those are the romantic interests. I also think it's gonna be like a love triangle situation going on. She's been to all of the different places that I think we're gonna have like the settings in this book, with the Seelie court, which is like the fairy world, but not like the bad evil one. And then you have the Unseelie court, which is like the bad evil one. And then her just like mortal lands. In the beginning of this book, it kind of felt like the beginning of Caraval. And if you've read that, it's basically like these two sisters and one gets taken into Caraval and then the other sister's trying to find her. So like that whole situation feels very similar, and it was funny because I thought about that, and then the quote on the front of the book is actually from Stephanie Garber, the author of Caraval, and I don't know if it's like catching my attention. I'm not really like totally invested in it. Again, I feel like I already know where this whole book is gonna go. We'll see where it goes. I think I'm just gonna sit and binge a bit of this one. It's one of those books where you can definitely sit and just fall into it because of how fast-paced and how easy the writing is and how easy it is to follow along with our character. I just think, again, sometimes she annoys me with the decisions she's making, but maybe she'll learn better being in the other courts and not in the mortal land. Those are all my first impression thoughts. Hopefully it picks up a little bit. like it's so obvious. I hope I'm not wrong because then I feel really dumb, but like everything that she's putting in this book, I feel like it's just so obvious of what's gonna happen with our main character, with one of the side characters, like not even like being vague or like trying to be discreet about it. Like I feel like it's very much in front of our faces, where I feel like in most fantasies you kind of have the surprise element, like the kind of like plot twists that go on throughout the book of something that you completely missed, and then you think about it like, oh, I can't believe I didn't pick up on that, but in this I'm picking up on everything, and I don't even think that's a flex. It's just very much put in front of your face, and it's kind of annoying me because I like when I'm taken by surprise in fantasy books. I love the element of surprise that you get in them. I'm kind of annoyed that I like feel like I know where this whole thing is going so early on in the book too. Okay guys, it has been not very long. I didn't read too much since last time. I got to page 107 and I think I'm gonna DNF this book, which is so unfortunate. I think if I liked our main character more, I wouldn't be so opposed to the story that we're following, because as soon as I finished talking in the last clip, what I guessed immediately happened, and I was like, I'm just gonna guess the rest of this book, so it's not even gonna be too entertaining. Like it just feels very much like a predictable fantasy storyline, especially feeling really YA and predictable and just like simplistic. It's just not what I am looking for, I guess. And our main character is just one of those where she just is like not like other girls, you know what I mean? So I don't think I'm gonna enjoy this. I'm gonna look up maybe spoilers for the rest of it just to see if I was right, which is kind of sad because usually I like to get at least a little further in the book, but I know myself and I know I'm just gonna give this a 3 max. So I think this is a DNF, which is kind of sad because I had really high hopes for this. Lots of people say ACOTAR vibes, which is like understandable looking at the storyline and where it's gonna go, but I just don't really want to read something that I can predict and just doesn't feel like a lot of world building, or like I'm not invested. So that's my reasoning on this one. I'm really bummed about it, but I just do not want to continue that. So I literally just filmed my fall TBR. I have all of the books still on the floor over here, so let's choose our next read. I have one more book I want to read maybe after our next one because I definitely need to get it off of my September TBR, but we're gonna hold off on that. I don't know what I'm in the mood for. I'm thinking maybe let's just do a romance, because the next one I want to read is not a romance and it's gonna be a little bit, I don't know what word to use. I'm intimidated by it, so let's do like an easy romance maybe. I know I said romance, but I have like every single genre in front of me right now, so I don't know if I'm thinking fantasy, but I really am intrigued by Phantasma. It kind of reminds me of Throne of the Fallen. There's like this deadly competition they have to enter. I also have The God of the Woods, which I really want to read soon. I don't know if it's giving complete fall vibes, but I feel like mysteries just in general in the fall time just makes sense. And this is a teenager vanishes from her summer camp and two worlds collide, so maybe this isn't really fall vibes giving summer camp, so I might hold off and just read that on my own time. And then for romances, I have these two books which I would just probably read back to back, and it's Make a Scene and What Imagine. I wanted to read this one in the fall because the cover is just completely the epitome of fall. This one comes first, so I'd have to read that one and then this one, but they're like really short. I think they're under like 200 pages or just above 200 pages. And then I also have Talking at Night by Claire Daverly. This one is very similar, people are saying, to Normal People and Sally Rooney writing, and I think it's a second chance. It's an emotional read. I don't really know which one I'm feeling. I'm gonna go through these and I will let you guys know which book I end up starting. Maybe it'll be none of these and it'll be a random pick, but I'm just really bummed I DNF'd that book because I feel like it takes a little bit for me to DNF a book, just knowing my taste as a reader and just knowing I'm not going to enjoy it. It's just so sad to do it. So we'll see what I end up picking and I'll let you guys know because I have no idea right now what I'm in the mood for. Hello guys, it is now the next day. I didn't read too much of this book last night. I got to page, I think like 56 or something like that. I read a little last night and just a bit this morning, but I found out that it's on Kindle Unlimited, so I immediately downloaded it onto here because holding this thick hardcover book in bed is not very comfortable, so thankfully it is on Kindle Unlimited. It's not on Libby. I don't think my library has it. So far, I feel like we just have like the general idea, the basis of the summary of the story. Our two sisters' mom passes away, so the older sister, Ophelia, takes over the mom's power. She has to go through this whole thing because she is now the oldest, and they find something out about the manor that they live in. The vibes of this are so spooky. Like this is giving, you read it like the week of Halloween, like spooky vibes. And she just found out that Phantasma, the deadly competition, is like back in town, but in this world there's like witches and ghosts and all these different different things that are giving like extreme spookiness, and our main character Ophelia can see and like speak to all of these. They're from a family of necromancers, so they can like summon and talk to the dead kind of like through magic. So that's where the magic system is, but it takes place in New Orleans. I don't know which way you're supposed to say it, but that's where it takes place. So it feels kind of like the urban fantasy of that, where it's like they're in like the real world, but it feels like a different time period. So I'm not really sure which era of it they're like talking about, but I think she's about to find out that her sister had plans to go into Phantasma. She doesn't know that yet. I think she thinks her sister's at home, but in reality her sister did go to Phantasma, and that is on the summary of the book. So I'm still very early on in the story. I'm excited to see where this one goes. I feel like it's gonna get spooky, it's gonna get interesting. I feel like the magic is gonna be interesting in this one. I'm excited to see how Phantasma is within like the visuals and the vibes of it, and like what actually happens there, because it's like a huge deadly game that like you should not go into, but people do because the prize is really good apparently. I don't know, I wouldn't go. I'm too scared. That's where I'm at. I'm gonna read a bunch today. I'll give some updates. I'm really happy I chose this one. This one is definitely giving all the fall vibes. Little update because I got to the actual like Phantasma competition thing that they're in, and I have to say, if you're gonna read this book, definitely read it during spooky season because it's giving such spooky vibes. We have ghouls and phantoms and devils and all of that stuff like involved in this, and it's just like such like a gothic spooky vibe. And I keep saying that, but it really truly is like she's painting such a vivid picture of like what's happening. But our main character is now involved in Phantasma because she went to go find her sister, and she's kind of like joined by this stranger. She has no idea who they are, but they want to join her and help her out, but she's like, why are you helping me out? Like, I do not trust you. And I think there's like a romance that's gonna happen between this. I don't really know, but it feels like there's gonna be, and it's such an interesting little dynamic and situation between the two of them. But again, the way she's describing everything is so fun. Like the first trial just happened. I just finished the first trial. We're about to start the second one. I think there's 9 of them throughout the 9 days of Phantasma. You can leave Phantasma whenever you want, but not while you're in the middle of a trial. And the trials is like you either win, you can make a deal with the devil, or you die. Like it's just such high stakes, and there's so many trials. So we're on the second one. Pacing's going really fast too, and I'm just really excited to continue. It's definitely giving, like I said, I think I said this, I definitely thought it, but Throne of the Fallen vibe, the same vibe of like the Princess of Hell of that is giving the same gothicness in this one. I feel like the writing styles are also kind of similar, so if you like that one, definitely try this one out. I'm not even halfway, but I'm over here recommending it. I cannot wait to see like what happens with the rest of the trials and our characters and like what she's like seeing and stuff. I can't wait for it to like pick up because I feel like it already did pick up a lot, so it's going really well. I am, like I said, reading it on my Kindle as well because it's on Kindle Unlimited, so I think I'm gonna read a bit on my Kindle because holding this book, it's hefty. It truly is hefty. I might sit outside for a little. The weather is beautiful. It's a beautiful fall day. Perfect for this video. I want to get halfway today. I'm 30% into it right now. And like I said, the trials are happening like really fast paced. So I feel like once I sit down and like clock in a little bit, I can definitely get halfway today. I'm really happy I chose this one. I feel like it's the perfect fall book. Update because I think I'm gonna finish this book today. I'm 300 pages into it and I am very invested. I feel like the writing is just so smooth and the scenes are so entertaining, especially the games of Phantasma, which I've never watched the movie Saw or any of the Saw movies, but the games that they're in and like the levels that she has to go through feel like they would be Saw games because they're designed by the devil, so each one are designed to end up killing you. So it's like very high stakes and it's very entertaining, but also nerve-wracking. And then the stranger that's helping her has turned kind of into a romance, so obviously I'm eating that part up. That's definitely escalated since last time I talked, and I'm just like really invested. So I think I'm gonna finish this one today. I like can't put it down when I'm reading it. It's gotten like really good, and I really like the storyline, the writing, the pacing, the characters. Like I'm very intrigued. There's one part that came up again that I kind of guessed throughout what was happening, but I'm excited to see like where that goes throughout the story, how we're gonna end it. I did look it up. I think there's gonna be a second one in this little like duology series, so I wonder if this is gonna be a cliffhanger or not. I'm I'm really hoping not, because I don't know when the next one comes out. Let me look it up. The second book comes out April 8th of next year, which is honestly not too bad from this like just releasing. This is a new book that just came out recently. But again, I'm hoping it's not a cliffhanger because I need to know. I need answers. So that's my update. I'm gonna go finish this today. This is how far in I am. I just have this much left and I am so invested that I need to just sit, read. I am going to work out a little bit, but after my class, I'm gonna run back home and I'm gonna continue reading. I'm gonna be thinking about this the whole time I'm in my workout class. Like, I'm just so invested. I'm also interested to see like what the second book is about, because I feel like you can't go through Phantasma again. I feel like that would be repetitive. So I'm just very interested in this whole duology and everything that's happening right now. All I'm gonna say, we found out some information like 30 pages ago, and I think I know how this is gonna end. I think I know that missing piece. We're gonna find out. I hope I'm not right for the sake of being surprised, but I think I'm on to them. I knew it. I'm still shook, but I knew it. This is crazy. What? It is now the next day. I finished Phantasma yesterday. I could not put this book down. I ate this up as soon as I got connected and invested in the story, like maybe 70 to 100 pages in. And that mark, I was like, okay. Like as soon as she entered Phantasma and I got into that storyline of everything, I was like immediately hooked. And I don't really know my official taste on like different fantasies, like what my favorite genre or subgenre of fantasies are. But something about an adult, dark, gothic romantasy is gonna hit for me every single time. Like this reminded me so much of Throne of the Fallen, but also maybe like a dark Carnival, almost like just the most interesting mix, but also it's so unique in its own way. It obviously has like the trials and the levels that lots of fantasies have, but like I said, some of them feel Saw-esque, but other ones just feel very nightmarish and very just like scary. And it was just so entertaining like the whole entire time. It never lost my attention. I also ended up reading the author's note at the end of this, and this is her first like debut into adult fantasy, which was really done so well. I want to read some of her other work. I think she has some young adult books that are out, and then I looked up the second one that comes after this one is actually about our main character's sister, and that means that this one actually did wrap up and you can read this as a standalone, like an interconnected standalone within the series. You don't need to continue it or feel like you are missing the ending and have a cliffhanger, which was really nice to read and just feel like it was like wrapped up. And also there's another part that she talks about in the author's note at the end that is included from her own personal experience that she put into our main character heavily, and it talks about that throughout the whole story. And our main character goes through this one thing, which was done really well and such an interesting take on something that I personally don't go through, but seeing it in our main character's point of view and like in her head and how it like affects her was just such an interesting take and like thing to include within the storyline. I ended up giving this one a 4.5. I think the ending was a bit rushed. I wish we could have like spread out the ending a little bit more, and it probably could have been a 5-star. Like I completely ate this up. I think it was so entertaining with the storyline of Phantasma and the trials and the devils and the spooky ghouls and the phantoms, but also our main character. I really enjoyed being in her point of view and seeing her kind of grow through this experience. And then also the romance that's in here is just like chef's kiss. Like I wish I kind of annotated this a bit more. I don't think I realized how much I was enjoying it until like after the fact, which means I was really present when I was reading this. And what a switch up from Dnfing, the first book of this video, to getting a 4.5 star. But if you're kind of iffy on this and you're like thinking you want to star it, let me just give you a little quote that I tabbed from the romance part of this book. Very out of context. Reminds me so much of one of the characters from Kingdom of the Wicked like trilogy. And after finishing the last book in that trilogy, I like was searching for a book that gave me that character's energy. Like ever since I read that January of last year, I was searching for a character like that, and I think that this book kind of gave it. It says, if there were ever a divine entity I'd worship, it'd be you. Okay. I will say though, there were some things that had kind of like foreshadowing or predictability in it, and I did guess a few things that were coming that you can kind of like read between the lines, and I did pick up on. But putting that aside, it didn't take away from how much I was entertained while reading this. Like, I didn't really care that I kind of knew what was coming. It still hit when it happened, and I just think the author did such a phenomenal job with this story. It gives the perfect like dark gothic vibes. I think if you're gonna read this book, wait until spooky season in October and read it during that fall season, and I think it'll hit like so much harder. Even though if you read it right now, it'll probably hit anyway. Again, if you like an adult romantasy gothic vibes, this is definitely for you. I highly recommend picking this one up. I'm so happy that I just randomly picked this up and read it. It's honestly those books where you like are mood reading and you randomly pick up that surprise you the most, and this one surprised me in a really good way. So continuing with our reading vlog, the next book I'm gonna pick up is actually on my September TBR that I made from our TBR video, and that is none other than Red Rising by Pierce Brown. This book has like been haunting me, and no pun intended because it's fall almost spooky season, but I've been just so intimidated by this book because I've seen reviews of people absolutely loving it, but it's also like confusing for some people. So just like hearing mixed reviews, I just didn't know if I was gonna enjoy it. I also don't typically read sci-fi books, which is what this is. Can't really tell you too much of the summary because I only am 29 pages in. There's basically different castes in this world, and the gold I think is the highest one, and then the lowest one is the red one where our main character is part of, and they're living on Mars, and I think they're trying to make it livable for other people, so they're working like day and night. They're the lowest caste. There's some like different things within this world that is being brought up that I don't really understand, but I'm pretty sure I'll probably connect the dots as it continues. I think I just have to continue reading it, but so far it's going okay. I don't really have too much to say, but this is our next book we're gonna read. I am watching my fall sheets to put on my bed, so we're about to get extremely more fall up in here. I'm gonna go sit. It's a Sunday. I'm gonna make some tea, get cozy, and we're gonna read our next book. I came downstairs to read outside, and I have been watching this tree all week turn colors, and it's such a beautiful, beautiful tree, and now the leaves are yellow, but earlier this week they were green. I don't know why I've decided to watch them, but every morning I would look out and see this tree and see the colors changing of the leaves, and it's beautiful. Just got to chapter 11. I'm on page 80, and I feel like the writing style makes it go really fast. I feel like the pacing is pretty good. It goes like pretty fast, but I also think that the writing style is a little bit not confusing, but not really painting a picture. Like, it's hard for me to picture things, and that usually happens like normally, but I feel like with a sci-fi novel and like you're talking about living on different planets or just like in a whole different like system and world, I feel like you need to really paint the picture well for like the readers to understand like what we're trying to envision. At least for me, a little bit more. I would have liked to kind of understand what I'm seeing. I understand the writing and the words and the story now. I understand like what's happening and what has to go down and everything like that. So it's not that I'm confused in any way. I think it's just hard for me to kind of picture where they're at, what they all look like and everything like that, because it's so different. Like I said, I've gotten to page 80 pretty fast, and that's a good sign. I'm also really interested to see like where this is gonna go. I feel like we've gotten to a huge part in like the main part of the book pretty quickly, and like where we're gonna go after that, I think this is the perfect setup, or I guess the rest of the series at this point. And I'm so intrigued to see like what goes down, because so much already has happened, especially in the first part. The first part's like 50 pages, and you really get to know our character, where he's from, what's going on, and like lots goes down that kind of projects him into the second part and like into this now storyline. So I would say I'm mostly just interested to see where we go, but I don't think I'm loving the writing style. So I'm hoping as I continue reading, I get more used to it and I can kind of visualize better and like be more present with the characters and like what's going on. Because right now I feel like I'm just like reading words and like understanding them. I'm interested in what's going on, but like not 100% there yet. That's all I have to say. I'm gonna keep reading. I'm again super intrigued to see where this story goes, and I feel like it's gonna get crazy. I mean, it already has been crazy in the first like 50-ish pages, so I just feel like now it's gonna get a bit crazier, because what they're doing is a little wild. One thing I can't believe is that this character is 16 years old. What do you mean he's 16? while since I have updated. I started this one, I think that was yesterday I started it, and I'm now on page 216. I'm pretty far in, I'm over halfway. Where I'm at right now in the story, I feel like a lot has changed within our main character, definitely, and just within the plot. Like, it's going in a way different direction than I pictured in my head. But like, I had a very vague description of the summary when I first went into the book, so it's like I don't really know what I was trying to picture or where I thought it was gonna go, but it's definitely not going in the way that I thought. We've been in this one scene, in this one like plot point for like a really long time, and I'm kind of over it and I want to like move on to the next thing. And like, I understand why they are where they are and like what they're doing there, and I understand like the plot and what's going on and everything. It's just like I'm not like very invested or connected to our character. I feel like really early on something happened where I didn't really have any emotional stake within the character, so it was definitely a bit crazy, but I personally just didn't like feel anything for it. I felt for our character and whatever was happening, but I just don't think our character has had development within like the emotional sense to us. Like, I feel like him personally has gone through it and is going through a lot and a lot of change, obviously, but to me personally, I feel like I'm just not connected to him like at all. I know nothing really about him other than like a couple things. I think it's just like the writing style and I are disconnecting, and maybe that's what it is. It feels more like it's just telling us what's happening and not really showing anything, not very descriptive of things or explaining too many things. I feel like we're just like in the story and things are happening, and I don't know if it's because I don't read enough sci-fi, and that probably is part of the problem, where it's like a me problem, but like, half of it feels like a fever dream. Like, half of what I'm reading, I'm just like, feels literally like a fever dream. The other half of it is where I don't read a lot of sci-fi. I'm more interested to see like what's gonna happen and like what can happen within the plot, and I'm very interested in it because the series is such like a long series for what's happening in here. I'm like, what can go on? And also because the plot point I'm at, like I said, is kind of dragging out, where I'm like, okay, a lot can probably happen within the series that honestly probably could happen in this. Like, I feel like I'm reading about one thing that they're going through for a really long time, and I'm kind of hoping that the pacing picks up. I don't really think I have like a strong opinion on the book right now. I feel like I'm just reading words and going along with our character and like what he's going through and what they're doing. I'm just not super connected, so I don't know. We'll see how it goes and how it ends, and then that'll probably decide if I want to continue the series or not. Right now, I probably would be fine finishing this book and just like not continuing the series, but we'll see how it ends and if I'm like interested to see what the next plot for like the second book is going to be, because I don't know if it's just like sometimes when you get into a series, the first book is never like the best. It's kind of like setting it up and like kind of explaining to you what's going to happen and what's going to go down. You're kind of learning about the characters and like the world, and maybe that's what this one's doing. But I don't know. I also downloaded the Audible graphic audiobook on Audible. Did I just say that? It's split into two parts, so I downloaded the second one because I am again over halfway through the book, but I don't know who decided to make the structure of the graphic audio like this, but it's split up into 7 chapters, and when you click like chapter 1, they put like a few chapters within it, but it doesn't say like chapter title. So like going from the book to the audiobook, like the graphic audiobook, you cannot find your spot. Like, you have to just keep searching for like the words on the page to like make sense with what they're saying. It's just like craziest way to split up the audiobook. Like, why would they not connect it with the actual book? I don't know. But graphic audios, I've only listened to A Quarter Silver Flames on graphic audio, and I feel like it really helps bring the story and the book to life. Like, there's different voice actors and different sound effects and different like music in the background. It really like feels like you're listening and you can envision it as like a movie in your head, which I love so much, especially in a book that like I feel like I'm just like reading the words and like that's kind of it, not really picturing too much. So that's definitely helping. I'm listening to it sometimes when I'm reading, which is also helping with like giving them personality. I just feel like he has no personality. I don't know. I just think maybe it's me and the writing style. I think that wasn't really much of an update, more just like this is where I'm at in the book, hoping the pacing picks up and excited to see where it goes, hoping something crazy happens. That would be exciting because I feel like lots is going on, but like I don't know. I need to say real quick that I completely stand corrected on what I was just talking about. I put my headphones on and I literally just sat down, and as soon as I started listening to where I stopped in the plot and in the book, something crazy happened. Not like too crazy, but like something that caught my attention. So now I have a lot of hope for like the second half, or not the second half, but the last part of the book that I'm gonna read or listen to. So I'm really excited about that. I feel like things are gonna pick up now, which is what I was hoping for, but I think I spoke too soon. I think the part I was at just dragged out a bit and I was kind of losing hope, but what I just listened to was a little crazy. So hopefully things are gonna get even more crazier. like 20 something pages left, and I've been listening to it since last night. And again, the audiobook is so good, but I think I was just holding out so much hope because how many people really love this book and have recommended it and say it's their favorite, which I think just really truly shows how everyone just has completely different book tastes, and it honestly shows how wonderful that is because I don't think I'm enjoying this. There were a few moments where I was having a lot of fun, and I feel like there was a lot going on, especially the first like 20%. Like that was so fun, like learning about Mars and where they're living and our main characters going through and like the change that he has to go through now. And I feel like that would have been really fun, and I thought this book was going to be totally different, more about like him getting caught in the most vague terms of what the story is. Like I thought that's what it was going to be about, but it's not. And I know it's been described as like a Hunger Games but on Mars, and I feel like we've completely lost the sci-fi touch of it, except for like a few things. I feel like it's more just like the Hunger Games-esque, and it's been going on the whole, other than the first like 20%, the whole rest of the book has been this part of like Hunger Games vibes, and I just like am not enjoying that, and I don't think I've connected to the writing, the characters, the plot, and I tried to hold on to it so bad, but I just don't think I am, and it's disappointing me so bad because I wanted to love this so bad. I thought this was going to be a new favorite series for me, and I just like, I don't know where it went wrong, but I just am not really enjoying it, and I'm gonna be really happy once it's over, and that is so sad to say. But again, I have 20 pages left. I'm gonna try to sit here and finish it up. Okay, I finished Red Rising. I don't know. Maybe sci-fi isn't for me, and I don't think I've read enough sci-fi to really like confirm it's not for me. I've only read the Renegades trilogy, which is a YA series, and it's really fast-paced and fun and more like dystopian sci-fi fantasy, and just not at all like this or How to Lose the Time War. And maybe I chose the wrong books to get into this genre. So if you have any other recommendations that may lead me into enjoying sci-fi, please let me know, because I just don't think the genre is for me, and maybe that's where me not enjoying this book stems from mostly. Like I said, I really enjoyed the beginning of this book. I really liked learning about where Darrow came from and all the miners and how the young had to grow up really fast. And with that storyline and that setup and learning about the world and our characters, especially like on the red side and how they're like the lowest caste and what they're working for. If it would have taken that route and like kept going and Darrow had like the means to fight for them, which I think he did in the beginning, but I feel like it completely fell off. But if it continued on that path, this could have been like a 4-star for me. Like I really enjoyed the beginning, which I have heard people saying like it's tough to get through the beginning, you know, the second half, like the later half is better, but for me the beginning was so much better. Like I was definitely invested from the beginning of it. Darrow finds things out, and I'm still intrigued. Like I'm still into it. I'm so interested in seeing like what they're doing and what he's doing and what he has to do now. Like that whole switch up and that whole part I thought was very interesting, and I was excited to see like where it was going to go, but it went in a totally different direction, and it just kind of like stayed there for the rest of the book. And like I said, lots of people compare this to Hunger Games and like a different version of the same type of plot, but it honestly turned into like 300 pages of just fighting and killing. Like that's kind of what we went through. And I understand why people say it gives Hunger Games vibes, but it's just like in an unlikable way. Like there was so many characters that started getting introduced, and I just like none of them were connecting with me on any emotional level at all. Like I feel like I was just reading words and reading what was happening and like not really caring like at all. I think I would have enjoyed it more if we went into more detail about the different casts and how they all work and meeting people from the different casts instead of just straight up like violence the whole time. It was just so interesting on where the plot went. I wish we got more of where Darrow was going and what he was supposed to be doing rather than the Hunger Games side of it. And our main character Darrow, again, I didn't connect with any of the characters, but like him specifically I felt like I should have, because he's the main character we are following through the whole entire book, and seeing him go from the low caste and like what he's about to go through and what he does go through, I just did not connect to him. At some points I really disliked him, and yeah, this was such an unfortunate bummer that I just did not enjoy it because my expectations were high, and like I said, I was holding out hope the whole time while I was reading, and I honestly would have DNF'd it earlier on, but I was just like praying that there would be a really good ending. And there was like a couple things that were surprising to me and surprising elements, but like not enough for me to like give it a high rating of any sort or want to continue the series. I don't know where I'm gonna land on a rating, because the first 150 pages get a 4-star for me, but then I feel like the second half or like the other 250 pages that we were reading about get like a 2-star for me. I don't really know if we should just average it out. Maybe I'll give it a 2.5. And please close your ears if you love this book in this series, but Also, again, reading is so subjective, so unfortunately this one did not work out for me. I don't think I'm going to continue the series. I will say I am interested to see like what the second book is about and like going on with the series, like how this is such a long series of what's gonna happen, but I don't think it would hold my interest, and I don't think I like this author's writing, so I don't think I'm gonna continue. But if this is your favorite series, I'm very happy for you. Again, I just, maybe sci-fi is not for me. Maybe that's where I'm going wrong, but I am happy that I ended up reading this because it's been on my TBR cart for so long. And with the theme of the video, I do think that this book is giving fall vibes. I feel like sci-fi, fantasy, dystopian, like any of those give me fall vibes, so it fit the theme, but I just personally didn't like it and I'm so sad about it. But that is all for today's video. Thank you guys so much for getting cozy with me and reading. Let me know if you've read any fall books recently, what your favorite has been, and if you have any other fall books that you think I should read. I've gotten so cozy over this past week filming this vlog. I've gotten new candles and new blankets and just getting in the fall spirit. So thank you guys for coming along with me. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know if you read any of these books, if you've enjoyed any of them, and I'll see you hopefully in the next one. Bye!